Two elderly folks were enjoying a meal at home when suddenly, the house started shaking violently. Terrified, they thought they were experiencing a landslide. Without even checking what was happening outside, they immediately took shelter in the basement. As soon as they got in, the entire house was hit with a tremendous force, as if it was being struck by an earthquake. The old couple screamed in fear as the shaking intensified, and all the lights in the house went out. After what seemed like an eternity, the commotion outside finally died down. The elderly couple slowly crawled out, only to be horrified by the sight before them. Their house had been reduced to rubble, as if something had smashed it in half. On the ground, there were two enormous craters. The next day, biologists rushed to the scene upon receiving the news. At first, Laura thought it was just a relatively large crater. However, as she descended into it, she realized it was a gigantic footprint, several times larger than her. But what could have left such an enormous footprint? Chris believed it had to be a colossal creature. They began searching the surrounding area in a helicopter, following the footprints. Despite scouring a 20-kilometer radius, they found nothing. It was as if the giant creature had vanished into thin air. They even used thermal imaging, but still, no trace was found. Eventually, they concluded that the enormous creature must be hiding somewhere. But with only barren mountains nearby, where could it possibly be? The biologists never would have guessed that the creature was camouflaged among the mountains, blending in like a rock. Determined to find the giant creature, Laura and her team sought out an archaeology professor who had studied these colossal beings over a decade ago. However, everyone thought he was mentally ill, and even had him committed to a psychiatric hospital for some time. It wasn't until today, with the discovery of new clues about the behemoth, that they realized the professor's claims were not unfounded. Laura and the others brought the professor to where the giant had disappeared. With his years of studying the surrounding environment, the professor immediately noticed something odd about the soil's scent upon arrival. Laura, sensing the professor had discovered something, hurried over to him. As the professor compared the map he had drawn over a decade ago, he noticed an inexplicable addition of a mountain. Just as the two were about to examine the map more closely, an eye suddenly opened on the mountain behind them. Laura, feeling uneasy, turned to look back and saw a colossal eye staring at them. The professor also turned around, and they both watched in disbelief as the neighboring peak slowly transformed into a gigantic mountain monster before their eyes. Without hesitation, everyone boarded the helicopter, ready to leave. However, compared to the behemoth, the helicopter was smaller than its footprint. Faced with such an enormous creature, everyone grew tense. Fortunately, the giant only let out a roar and did not attack them, allowing them to escape safely. Due to copyright restrictions, the story can only be shown up to this point. The movie is called Mountain Monster Troll.